From Carolla-1 Studios in Glendale, California, this is the Adam Carolla Show. Adam's guest today, from Spike Lee's Da 5 Bloods, Delroy Lindo. With Gina on news and Bryan on sound effects, and now, tomorrow he'll commemorate the anniversary of the D-Day invasion by storming the beach of occupied California. Adam Carolla.
Yeah, get it on. Got to get it on. No choice but to get on. Mandate, you get it on. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks for telling a friend. We love that about you, right, Gina Grad?
That's right.
Handball, Bryan. Hi, guy. Hi, guy. So, Delroy Lindo, man, excited to speak to him. You guys, Bryan, you know more about Delroy probably than I do. So
I probably should have, Delroy. How much of the conversation between you and Delroy is going to be gone in 60 seconds talk?
No, I'm going to limit it to 80%.
He's not a madman.
We'll get to his lesser known, sort of what I call sort of ancillary movies when we're done doing Gone in 60-second talk. What was it like to be with Nick Cage? Did you ever get to go in his trailer? Is he as dreamy in person as he is on the screen? All the Nick Cage questions. And then if their time permits, we can talk about the new movie. So, it is, I don't know. Here's an interesting thought for you, Bald, because of your movie prowess. In a way, a bad schlocky movie like Gone in 60 Seconds, totally fun, but totally schlocky. Delroy Lindo turns in a really strong performance in that movie. And you go, maybe being a really good actor on a soap opera in a way is a taller order than being a really good actor in a Tarantino movie, like where you're given all this great material, I mean,
look at the inverse, like fucking Cuba Gooding Jr. won an Oscar for Jerry Maguire. Like Cameron Crowe is a master writer and director, or at least was. Like he's a beautiful writer, and he can turn the Kate Hudsons of the world into a great performance. You know what I mean? Or look at fucking Mark Wahlberg in Boogie Nights. Like Mark Wahlberg is, can we all agree, a marginal actor? He can be good, he can be bad. He's somewhere in the middle.
That's very insulting.
But in Boogie Nights, like he's in the hands of a master filmmaker and a master writer, and he turns in a great performance.
When you said Cuba Gooding Jr., I thought you were going to talk about radio.
There you go.
And of course, John Travolta with Tarantino after coming off Look Who's Talking 1 through 17. All right. I wanted to get Mark Geragos on because I wanted to ask Mark, because I don't think anyone is better qualified than this, and to answer the question of the cops in Minnesota. They're going for it. Like they want murder 2, and they're raising the stakes. But the problem is if you can't meet that, then these guys are going to get off. So you could be kicking your own ass by getting lofty with what you're going for in terms of prosecution, and it could be dangerous, and it may backfire. I don't know. I want to ask Mark Geragos, but I was thinking about that today. Mark, you have thoughts?
You absolutely stole my thunder. Yes, that's exactly what happened. And the reason they raised it was because in order to... By the way, hi, Adam. How are you?
Hi, guy.
That's not a drop.
Hi, Bald.
What's happening, buddy?
Hey. So anyway, they, what they did was the only way, not the only way, but the way to get the enhanced charge, which goes from 3rd degree to 2nd degree, is, or the reason they did that was because they needed some kind of an element that they could then fashion an aiding and abetting charge on the other 3. The problem with that is, this is what we call felony murder. The problem with that is the progressive social justice, criminal justice reforms people like myself have been arguing against the expansion of felony murder to the point where, as of January 1st of 2020, California enacted a law that said if you've ever been convicted of this felony murder doctrine, you can now go back to the court and have them reverse the conviction or relook at it because we don't want to expand criminal liability. So precisely what you're talking about is they're hoisting themselves, they're headed in a direction of exactly where they don't want to be. And this isn't the only one or only example. In the other horrific case that started kind of this latest outbreak, the Aubrey case, they did the same thing with the gentleman who was taking the video. They expanded the liability to the gentleman under a felony murder rule. Well, mind you, Alabama just executed a gentleman for on this very same theory. And the argument against his execution was you've expanded felony murder to the point where we're either killing people or convicting people of murder when they didn't pull the trigger or they didn't do the act. And that is a very dangerous road to go down, because remember, you're always going to be in the hands of a prosecutor. What's good today for a prosecutor is going to be used against you the next day when there isn't the spotlight on.
So let me bring up Trayvon Martin in the Zimmerman case, and I'm not sure how accurate this is, but you tell me. If you're going for murder charges against Zimmerman, he's going to walk. If you go for manslaughter charges against him, he could do some time. So if the...
And I said that all along. I thought that the prosecution during Trayvon Martin, I thought they were phoning it in. I mean, I was famously excoriated during that because I said it looked to me like the prosecution was rolling over during that case. I didn't understand why they filed what they filed, and I didn't understand their presentation of evidence, and I'll never understand their jury selection. But this case has, and Keith Ellison knows better. He's a very skilled and very intelligent man. Interestingly, somebody mentioned he lost the race for the head of the DNC, and then he ended up getting the attorney general job in Minnesota. But this is, be careful what you wish for. Those of us in criminal defense who do this day in, day out, we've been fighting against the expansion of this felony murder. And I'm the first guy to say that, you know, I understand why people are rioting. I understand why people are getting back because, personally, if you hang out in the criminal justice system for any amount of time, you realize that the system is irretrievably broken.
So then is it correct what you were saying, which is they're going for a more aggressive charge against Derek Chauvin so that they can get the officers underneath him so everyone kind of moves up the ladder a little bit?
Correct, because one of the theory is in Minnesota, they have a common law doctrine and they've got a specific felony murder that divides up murder into 3 degrees. The 3rd degree does not necessarily have a intent element. It's almost the depraved indifference. It's you were so freaking negligent. I mean, it's very muddy, but basically you were so indifferent that we're gonna give you that state of mind. The problem with that is you have a tough time aiding and abetting somebody who's got a depraved mind. If you have an intent element, then yes, you can aid and abet somebody who intended to do something, and that's how you get the other officers.
That's a very interesting point. Yeah, good luck proving the other 3 guys were helping a guy who was sort of, if we're charging him with essentially asleep at the wheel versus ramming another car intentionally, then how can you blame the other people in the car? I guess would be my analogy.
Right. Somebody had given something yesterday, an example, and I wish I had remembered it, but Chris just called me up. But there was a pretty good example of 2 cases recently in Minnesota that kind of hit exactly on this. The irony, as I mentioned before, though, is here in California, you actually have a law that prohibits what they are doing because that was the progressive movement and the kind of the step that was happening in the criminal law was to restrict liability for felony murder as opposed to expand it.
So if you were Attorney General Keith Ellison, what would you do? How would you approach this?
I think Keith Ellison, there are other ways that you could have fashioned liability. And I think that part of the problem is it's interesting and I suppose ironic that there were also 4 officers in another time when LA burned, and that was the Rodney King case. And we all remember what happened both in the state court and in the federal court. Remember, in the state court in Rodney King, all 4 officers were acquitted. Then they the feds stepped in and the feds re-prosecuted. And I say re-prosecuted because double jeopardy does not work in that order. It would work, or it used to work, in reverse order. But two of the officers were acquitted again in federal court. And one of the reasons is you can't expand criminal liability to the point where you don't understand it. Now, everybody who was complaining with, at the same time, see if they can keep both thoughts in head. Everybody who's complaining, why aren't those other officers arrested at the same time? I agree with them absolutely. I've told you, Adam, I've defended cases here in Los Angeles repeatedly where somebody was standing outside of a club in Hollywood. I can't tell you how many times I've had this case. Somebody gets into a fight, one punch, a guy hits his head on the sidewalk, dies. They charge manslaughter on the one who throws the punch, and somebody who either restrained the person who got hit or stood by and didn't do anything gets charged as well. And they wouldn't do a dispassionate investigation over the course of 4 or 5 days. They'd arrest everybody first, ask questions later. And that's, I think, what the discontent was. People know intuitively, why do the cops get the benefit of the doubt when it's an arrest? Why do they get the benefit of the doubt here, there, or everywhere else? But I think that the legal theory, as you were mentioning, as I was listening to you as I came on, the legal theory is a problem. And while it may quell the kind of the outrage right now, it may be setting up failure later on when you try to get a jury to convict.
Well, here's
that's that's what I was just thinking. My God, if they can't convict him, we already thought they went scorched earth last weekend. The major cities in this country will literally burn to the ground if nobody gets convicted over this.
Well, let me give you another thing that a boring cop and I've been fighting over. We have a case.
Right.
Ben. Yeah, Ben has been fighting over. We've got a case potentially that could ignite the world. And you know, I'm betwixt and between as to what to do with that. We've been fighting amongst ourselves. I'll get to that maybe later or tomorrow, because we may have some solution by then. But
well, you mean hold on a second. Are we talking about the decision of whether to release the information or the video or the whatever to, once that goes public, goes viral, and then there's lap 2 of outrage and cop car burnings? Like, there would be, it's that egregious.
Correct.
As egregious as Minnesota?
Correct.
It does.
And it fits right into what's happening in the country right now. That's why we're struggling with it.
Does it involve videotape?
Uh-huh.
How is it that it involves videotape and you have the videotape, but no one else has the videotape?
You ask such pertinent questions, and I won't go there. I won't answer. I can never deflect with you. I always have to. You zone right in, which is just that's why I love you. What can I say? But just to be clear,
if that thing went out, it would be round 2 and maybe even a longer round of what we've just experienced, or what we're kind of coasting to a stop on. We would be supercharged again. Wow. Yeah,
I think that's accurate. Now, you know, it's interesting. I think if you and I have talked almost ad nauseum about the Daniel Shaver case and what happened once that video was released. I think that if that had been released, and I saw where some guys were interacting with Gary earlier today, if that had been released now, I think that would have been unbelievable. I mean, I think about that poor widow and those poor kids, and how the Mesa Police Department has shortchanged them. And talk about hypocrisy. You should go online and take a look. Mesa Police Department, of all police departments in the country, talking about the solidarity with the protesters over Minnesota and George Floyd, when they're the ones who not only executed Daniel Shaver in cold blood, but then after the officer was acquitted, they rehired him, then gave him a disability pension and let him retire the next day. What happens with
they may be worse than Drew Brees. I don't know. I'm just putting it out there. that could be more dangerous. I don't know.
Is there,
how it plays out.
Well, everybody's talking about Drew. I'm the one who's out of my head about Joe Lockhart and Roger Goodell trying to, putting out the false narrative that they put out this week. I mean, the talk about, and I'm sitting under a protective order, which I'm also talking about just violating because they violated the protective order in lying to the public. Joe Lockhart penning that article about how the NFL really and Goodell really wanted to do something for Kaepernick, which is absolute nonsense. And Lockhart did everything possible to deep six the information. And for him to come out now and saying, oh, yeah, we made a mistake, but we were trying to do the right thing 3 years ago. Adam, you know better. You were there in real time with me when we were discussing it and how frustrated I was at the time that I was under a protective.
So let's just finish off with Minnesota and Ellison and that kind of stuff. If this trial ends and these guys go free, as Gina said, it's time to fire up the furnace, right, for the country. Is Ellison?
Let me tell you something.
Yes.
Let me tell you something. I have talked with a number, this criminal defense community is a rather small and vocal community. I've talked with, I can't tell you how many criminal defense lawyers who say they express the exact same thing I've been saying, is that be careful what you wish for. Okay, it may placate people now, but this is a very dangerous theory. It's a very dangerous theory to lead people to believe that you're going to hook them on this particular theory, given the fact that it's been used in the exact same situation to put a young African American to death within the last 75 days. So, be careful about what you wish for in these cases.
I assume the answer is no, Mark, but is it possible to charge them with second and third degree murder? There are other theories, and this is where the feds could have stepped in. I can see where the feds could have charged a violation of civil rights and done some kind of a conspiracy or RICO, and they would have been, I think that would have been a much stronger case, and in federal court would have actually been, federal court in criminal cases is as close to a slam dunk as you can ever get. It's a 99-point-something% conviction rate, and they've got laws that are so expansive that they can do it. Federal court is a completely different animal, and the feds were looking at this, and they've already designated that police department for investigation. So I don't know why if they were going to take their time and deliberate, why the action wasn't brought federally in the first place.
Well, I think we can all agree. I guess I'll make an analogy. Let's see. I think we can agree that we would like Keith Ellison and his lieutenants to choke up on the bat a little, make good contact, and get a good stand-up double. But swinging for the fences could result in a strikeout, and a strikeout could mean the whole fucking stadium was going to be burned down.
It's a tie game with the runner on third. All you got to do is put the ball in play.
Just put it in play.
I will say, I don't want to look, it doesn't take a whole lot of prognostication. I said it in real time repeatedly on TV as it was happening, that what the prosecution was doing was absolutely abysmal during Trayvon Martin. I said at the time, in fact, at one point, Mark O'Mara, who's a friend of mine, got very mad after jury selection, which was incomprehensible to me. I said, the only way Zimmerman loses this case is if O'Mara hits his head and has retrograde amnesia. So, I mean, this thing is setting up very similarly. I mean, I don't want to, go out until I see how it unfolds. But the theory that is being used right now is not a theory that is built on a strong foundation.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks for your insights.
Thanks.
Give me
Bye, Gina. Bye, Bald.
Hold on.
If
you and Bad Cop decide to drop a video, text me out. Give me about a 3-minute heads up so I can start putting plywood in front of my sliding glass windows. Could you please?
He's already so mad at me. He's excoriated me so many times in the last 5 hours. I can't even tell you.
Well,
he's almost keeping it from me. It's like it's unbelievable.
Well, that's why he's the bad cop. Thanks. Right. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, just so people know. I don't know. At some point, I asked them if they could play good cop, bad cop with something, but Ben, I think his last name is Mysalis.
That's right.
So he says it, but his partner's low key. So I just asked Mark if you guys ever play good cop, boring cop. And Mark got a good laugh out of that. And from that day forth, his partner, Ben, has been known as boring cop.
Poor guy.
I know. There's worse. You could do worse. Yeah. All right.
Boy, I hope Mark's wrong. Oh, my God. That's going to be devastating for the country.
Well, it's interesting because there's kind of two sides of it. It can be devastating for the country, but then also what Mark was referring to is if you do get the conviction, then that now is going to apply to young black men who are getting screwed in the court system as well. Like, kind of be careful what you're going for because it's a two-way street. Right. Xander Whitby is a young man, a young genius, born and raised in Jerome, Idaho. Destined for greatness, by the way, played on the varsity basketball team. I just went through all this with my kids in their online graduation. His yearbook picture has a quote, and all the kids are asked to do quotes, right?
Mm-hmm. Senior quote.
Yeah, or a graduation quote. So we're all sitting around the dinner table like 2 weeks ago, and everyone's like, what quote are you going to do? And Sonny's like, make America great again. And everyone just Natalia started screaming at him. Are you kidding? You'll never get laid. You'll never be, everyone's going to hate you. And Sonny's doing it to get a rise out of Natalia. And probably his mom. And he's like, I'm doing make America great again. And everyone's going, no, Sonny, no. You can't do that. You can't. He's like, what? Just saying, make America great again. Well, what's wrong with that? So he ended up.
Do we not all agree with this?
Yeah.
Everybody knows his quote is, it's just a waste of my time.
He went with the Frank Sinatra lyric or something, you know. Well, he was basically.
He loves old blue eyes.
He was
at age 13, regrets he's had a few. But then again, too few to mention.
He's, one time when he blew out a tire on his big wheel back when he was 9. And anyone who's loved and lost with a Cabbage Patch doll knows.
I get no kick. I get no kick from cocaine.
Yeah. All right. So Xander up. Sorry. So Xander put on his yearbook. Anyway, his line was, "Don't do your best, do my best." Adam Carolla, which I was profoundly flattered by. And Xander, good to speak to you.
Good to speak to you, Adam. How's it going?
It's going well. I when I saw it, I didn't think for a second you came up with that. It feels like your dad told you to do it, but you tell me.
So my dad is a big fan of the show, and we were talking one day, and he was kind of making fun of me for something I can't remember, but he's like, "Don't do your best, do my best." And I'm like, that's probably an Adam Carolla quote, isn't it? And he was like, yes, it is. And so we were just kind of talking about it, and it was about time to put in the quotes, and we just kind of looked at each other and we're like, this should be the quote. And that's how we came up with it.
You know, it's weird how I'm wired, but I've been on the New York Times bestseller list 3 times, and it's nice, but it doesn't mean quite as much as like you using my quote in your senior yearbook. And I'm not sure if everyone is wired that way, but I get a much greater thrill out of seeing what you've written there than many other accolades. So thanks for making my day. What's your dad do?
So my dad used to work in advertising. So.
Oh yeah. Typical Idaho boy.
Yeah.
Madman.
One of the big glamorous Idaho firms.
Totally.
And you're heading off to college?
Right now I'm working, and then I plan to serve a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So
where are you working?
I work for a tarping company, so I go around to the dairies in Idaho and kind of just fix tarps. And
Adam, do you want to put the adoption papers through now, or do you want to hold off till he gets back from his mission?
We can negotiate a trade.
Yeah. You know, I've been looking for a world-class tarper for a while. I know I've been putting it out there. No one's really answered the call. I have a lot of tarping needs, you know, as a man in my position would have. So maybe we could get you out of here. Now, it's funny because when you went, I live in Jerome, Idaho, and then they said your dad was into advertising. I was like, what? But when I heard your job of tarping, I thought, now that's the Idaho I'm picturing in my head.
Xander, do you have any input whatsoever into where you go for your mission, or do you literally just get luck of the draw sent somewhere?
And so like our church, so I have a process where I put my papers in. I have to go through medical stuff. And so
Sure.
I'm in the process of that right now. But when it comes time for it, then I will get an email saying where I'm going. And it's more where the church leaders decide for me to go. So like my friends I have a couple of friends that are going to Italy, Colombia, and South America. One just went to Sacramento on Wednesday. So it kind of is at the luck of the draw.
When you're
Sacramento,
it's crazy, right? And then some people end up in the scariest part of Africa. I'll tell you I'll tell you what I would do. I don't know if when you hand in your paperwork, if they have that space on bottom for notes, like personal notes, I would just write in allergic to chloroquine and any medication that can stop malaria. And I just turn in like, by the by.
Yeah, just FYI.
Yeah,
I don't do well in mosquito netting.
Full disclosure.
Yes. Yeah, tell them you heard Joy Behar talking about it on The View. And
you can only eat Mediterranean cuisine.
Yes. So you have no idea where you're going?
Not yet. Not this moment.
And what are your thoughts on it? Because you could go to Italy or you could go to Zimbabwe, and either you'd rather go to Italy, but big picture, how long is your tour? How much time do you do? 2 years?
So it's 2 years, yeah.
2 years. Because the 2 years will go by fast, and then for the rest of your life, when people ask, hey, where did you do your missionary work? And you go, Italy, they're going to go, you know what I mean? Like you want a little street cred, right? So maybe you should be hoping for some, place a little war torn.
Along those lines,
sure.
like if you have the choice, Adam, not the choice, but like if it came down to like Sacramento or just say someplace benign, someplace, mundane, some places like, all right, Fresno, like, or the aforementioned Zimbabwe, I'd kind of rather go to Zimbabwe, like expand my horizons, have a 2-year adventure.
I know firsthand the pain of this lack of street cred, because famously you're talking to a guy who was involved with the Big Brother program, and I got a red-haired kid with blue eyes.
Yeah.
And so every time people go, oh man, reaching out to the inner city and the underserved community, and then they'd see this guy and they'd go, oh, great.
Timmy O'Malley over there.
Yeah, I got no street cred out of it, Still, the Taco Bell burrito cost the same for the red-haired kid as they did for the brother, and I was still paying, but I got none of the street cred out of it. So don't end up like I did, Xander. No, wait, wait a minute. How's that saying go?
Oh, God.
Don't do your best, do my best.
Right. So,
wow, way to bring it home.
Here's an interesting point. I've predetermined it's interesting. Maybe it's not, but, I grew up in L.A. and, all the other people had dreams of moving to Hollywood or moving to New York one day or getting out of their little town or whatever. And everyone I talk to now in L.A. is waxing poetic about Montana and Idaho and getting the hell out of L.A. Is there those thoughts anymore? Like, are you looking at L.A.? Are you looking at San Francisco, Chicago, New York, and going, hey, suckers, have fun over there, sweeping up the broken glass? I'll stay here in Idaho.
Yeah, with all the stuff that's going on right now, I mean, of course, staying in Idaho would be kind of nice. But as far as expanding my horizons, I think it would be nice to kind of get out of little Jerome, Idaho and go somewhere where I can figure out life and do what I need to do.
And you don't go alone, right?
No. So I'll have a mission companion when I
and there are people you'll meet up with wherever you go, or it's just the two. Okay.
And how is Jerome, Idaho? I'm guessing it's a small town. I'm guessing. I haven't heard of it. So during between the whole COVID-19 thing and riots and all that stuff and protests, have you guys been affected at all? Have you seen marches? Have you been quarantined? Is there anything going on?
There hasn't been much of that around here. Of course, there's people that try to advocate it, but there's not much going around.
And what about before that with the quarantine? Were people sheltering in place? Were restaurants closed?
Yeah, for the most part. I know there's a lot of people that were scared at first and try to make sure they did everything they can to stay safe. But it was about a month where we were quarantined, and we're just kind of doing our part there just to make sure we're keeping our family safe.
Have you noticed the difference? Last question for you, Xander. I've been wondering out loud about this, I think on this show, but certainly everywhere. I'm kind of obsessed with my daughter and she's having another pool party today. And, there's 4 of her friends showing up at the door. And I keep saying to my son, what are you doing? He's like, I'm going out on a bike ride. I'm like, where are your friends? I don't think they're allowed to whatever. What is this weird standard, at least in my neighborhood, where all the girls are having a good time and hanging out in the swimming pool and the boys haven't seen their friends in 3 months? I don't know if that's going on in Jerome, Idaho. I don't know if you have a sister. I don't know if you have any experience with this or thoughts, but give it a shot.
So it really just depends on the family and what they want to do. It's up to the parents. But I mean, I have 2 little brothers, and it was kind of like a process of, okay, I mean, you can see your friend here, maybe not like stay at like our house or their house, but like go to the park, go for a bike ride, stuff like that. But it's just kind of been just baby steps as far as the whole quarantine.
And you don't have any sisters or girls so you can kind of measure it against.
I don't.
I'm starting to wonder if the moms baby
the Mormon guy about girls.
Yeah, baby the boys more than the girls. I don't know what's going on, but the girls have free reign, and the boys do not show up. And something is up because many of these girls have brothers who could easily accompany them, or the guys could hang out too. There's a theory I'm going to try to work out at some point, probably not into a microphone. Xander Whitby, thank you very much for writing my words in your yearbook, and thank your dad for listening as well.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me.
Good luck with everything. It's going to be very exciting.
Thank you, Gina.
Check in from us wherever godforsaken land they send
Yes.
Yeah, I'll totally tweet you guys where I'm going. So
Great.
And like the bumper sticker says, let's get to tarping. If there's not a bumper sticker that says that, it should. Yeah. I don't know if I don't know what company do you work for?
It's called Western Ag.
Western Ag. We got your ass covered.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
there you
good.
go.
Huh?
We got your grass
That's
covered.
You can have that one.
Grass. You can go grass. Right. Okay. Thanks, Xander.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. We're going to do a little live What Can Adam or Unprepared. Adam Carolla's Unprepared. We'll do it here live. We'll take a quick break. We'll come right back, and we'll hear your calls. Throw out a word. I'll do it live. We'll do it right after this.
It's time to check Adam's voicemail.
Hey, Adam. So I was wondering today, amidst all this rioting that's going on, where is Auntie Maxine? She's supposed to be the voice of her constituency in the Black community, reclaiming her time. And I checked her Twitter account, and her last post was 2 days ago, and all about COVID. Not a single mention about the riots and what's going on. What happened? I thought she was such a champion for the people.
You can leave us a message at 888-634-1744.
Yeah, she had some initial stuff. The usual stuff, Maxine Waters, but I haven't heard anything in a long time out of her. Well,
It's funny to that point. I literally just put her name in, nothing else. And the first thing that comes up is an interview from The Cut, and it's just titled "Don't Call It Rioting."
Oh yeah, well that's on
the first
point.
thing that comes up.
All right. I did have a thought about this. I was talking to Mike August about it. The looters. Now, look, I don't like to defend looters. We'll do the unprepared in a second. We're first going to take some phone calls here. Matt, 42 from Phoenix. I want to say this. The people that are peacefully protesting and sitting in I support. But as far as social distancing, the looters are doing a better job. They're further apart.
True.
They're moving faster.
Their faces are more covered.
They go into the Target and they spread out. Yep. These people are all
out.
These people are all coming together and listening to John Lennon songs. And again, I'm not saying the looters are better people. I'm saying they're better at social distancing. And not that I support looting. I don't want to live in a world where my kids are looters, but in this particular area, they're doing a better job. Matt?
Hey, Ace Man.
What's
Paul,
going on, man?
Hey.
I was just listening to yesterday's show, and Bryan, I wanted to say appreciate the update, and we're all pulling for you, buddy.
Hey, man, thanks. Can I add something real quick, Adam? Because the outpouring has been awesome. People are very supportive, sending tweets and Instagram posts and stuff. One thing I didn't mention, which is important because I think people are a little freaked out, and understandably so. This is not like 11 years ago when I was, I had an aggressively growing tumor and I was going through radiation, which really messed me up. I will not be going through radiation this time. God willing, I won't have anywhere near the physical side effects that I had last time. So please assuage your fears a little bit. Thank you very much for the support. I appreciate it, but don't freak yourself out.
Thanks, man.
Right on. Awesome. Good news. One other thought that occurred to me, you mentioned Sonny a little bit earlier. We haven't had much from James Woods for him to read tweets. What if he read some Donald Trump tweets? I think I'd get a pretty good kick out of that.
All right. When he's done getting his haircut, today he told me I had to get his fucking haircut today because he won't cut his hair. He has zero.
My main purpose of calling is I saw Balt's tweet. It was either Sunday or Monday. Tune in tomorrow for a special episode of the Adam Carolla Show. And I immediately went to a bad place thinking that Adam was going to say something or take some stance that Bald or Gina would just say, fuck it, I'm out of here. Excuse me if this is a clean show. F it. And that's not been the case. And I think some of us think you lean a little bit right sometimes, Adam, but throughout this whole episode, you've been right down the middle and shooting it straight. And I just want to say I appreciate that.
That was the Sunday night episode we recorded when we discussed almost exclusively, the riots and protests and stuff.
Well, I don't have, first off, I lean right de facto because everyone else is lurching so far to the left, which is making me look more right. My thoughts have been pretty consistent for 25 years. I'm kind of a numbers guy, and if you want to solve a problem, I want to hear the problem, I want to crunch the numbers, and I want to go at the problem. That seems we're not really living in that world anymore, but that's kind of how I roll. I don't know if there's any room for that anymore.
Absolutely there is.
All right.
I'm an engineer by trade, and numbers are kind of what drives my life and how I run my professional life as well. So,
well, good. Well, my feeling is always it has to pencil out and what you're talking about. The numbers, the stats. I'm very much into math. And I'm very much into logic, and I'm not that much into feelings. And we've been entering, this would be, it's kind of interesting. I've always talked about eras, in the 80s was all about turbo, and the 90s was all about stealth, and the 50s, extreme X's, and the 2000s was extreme, and the 50s and the 60s, it was space and rocketry. Everything was rocket ship and everything. And I've always talked about what era are we in? 2020 is the era of feelings. It's like everyone going, my truth, the way I feel, and politicians, celebrities, spokespeople, companies, here's how we feel about this. And my thing is, feelings are good for your family and they're good for your neighborhood and friends and things like that, but it's not good policy. I don't want the feelings woven into the policy. I want the how are we going to save lives? What is going to be effective? How do we approach this? There can be differences of opinions in that, but your feelings should sort of, I've been screaming about though for 5 years, when Garcetti goes, we're better together. I want to talk about curfews. I want to talk about charter schools. I want to talk about police unions, teachers unions. Like, I want to talk about anything. I don't want anything about feelings.
He's talking about the police department.
I know.
Heavily funded police department.
I'm starting to wonder. I started to think about it today. I had this other thought, one of my many thoughts where people think I'm a dick, where I was like, oh, wait a minute. We're on summer break. Oh, those teachers, finally, a load off. They can go home and relax and get paid. So then I had that thought, but I thought, I wonder if police unions and teachers unions are serving their constituency. In general, I'm not a big unions guy. The teachers unions are, I would say, if you took the total of good versus bad, it's now into bad. They're doing bad for their kids. They're not helping their kids as much as they are hurting them. I mean,
they're good for the teachers, of course.
Yeah, they're good for
them, but yeah, for the kids, that's very debatable.
I would like charter schools with no unions. The unions don't want the charter schools. But the point is maybe we should take a look at police unions and teachers unions at the same time and see if maybe they're doing more harm than good at this particular point. Hey, Matt?
Well, the teachers are out there buying their own school supplies and books, but cops seem to have smoke bombs and tear gas for days, just ready to go. So that's one indication from my perspective. We talk about numbers.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it.
Have a good one.
You too.
Hey, if we're looking for somebody to read the Trump tweets, I don't know if you noticed, probably not, but my fiance read one of Trump's last speeches as Emperor Palpatine from Star Wars, and it was retweeted almost 3,000 times. And then he just did Don Trump Mulaney. He read him as John Mulaney. He's doing a bunch of them.
Oh, really? Well, yeah, give it a...
Yeah, it's very funny.
We'll give it a try. Let's talk to Brett, 32 from San Diego. Brett?
Ace Man, Gina, Bald, how you guys doing?
Good. How you doing?
Hey.
You're good, man. Hey, well, I just wanted your take on this, Adam. So I just started training jiu-jitsu, and I know it's kind of weird with the pandemic, but it was a gym I was going to, and then a group of guys, kind of got together after hours, hush-hush type thing. I won't give the name of the gym away, but... So I'm,
first rule is you don't talk about it.
Yeah, first rule.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Right? First rule. I'm a white belt, which is the most basic level rank that you can go in, and I'm 32, work construction, pretty good shape, if you will, humbly speaking, and I'm getting my ass kicked, man, and it's something I'm wanting to do. I'm really serious about, and I'm a long-time listener. And I kind of took your approach, Adam, when I got into this jiu-jitsu. I know you did this way back from the Dancing with the Stars thing, and then, kind of how you were doing your stand-up comedy, that you told yourself you were just going to keep going, and that's what I'm trying to do. So I was calling to get your advice to see if you were in my position, what you would do. I'm showing up every day just getting slaughtered, man, And it's becoming harder and harder every day for me to want to go and progress because I'm starting to get
all right. Well, let me
motivated.
Let me intervene, Brett. First off,
okay,
just quit and start slamming heroin. All right, and we got to move on. Sarah's from West LA, 31, wants to talk about the riots. Wait, did he just hang up? No.
No.
Okay.
No, I'm here.
Hey, the screen moved, and it was a weird timing thing. So first off, I am starting an organization called White Belts Matter. Okay, so I'm gonna need you to show up at the meeting and bring your own spray paint because we're gonna paint the town. Well, look, you're 32. Who's to say you couldn't be great at this by the time you're 37, and that's still young? Just go in there and put the time in. Is there anything anyone regrets? Does anyone regret anything they put some time into, even if they didn't excel at it? Does anyone regret taking guitar lessons when they were 11 or ballet when they were 9 or whatever, going out for the swim team when they were in junior high, even if they were slow?
I think barring relationships, nobody regrets things that they put time into.
Right.
And every story starts out like this. For the first few months, I suck. Whether it was stand-up comedy or Brazilian jiu-jitsu or whatever. For the first few months, I sucked.
Right. So you just keep going. And look, here's what I want to say. You cannot make things so difficult for yourself that you quit. You can't throw yourself into the deep end of the pool because it's easy to drown and you'll quit on it. I've said it. You have to have a kind of relationship with work and with working out and with jujitsu or whatever, chores around your house. Announce that you're going to go in and put 2 hours in cleaning the garage this weekend. And by the way, there won't be back to back. I'll do an hour at 10 a.m. and I'll do an hour at 2 p.m. or whatever. But don't announce you're going to spend 11 hours cleaning the garage. You'll never clean the garage again. You'll quit halfway into it. You'll burn yourself out. Announce you're going to run for 20 minutes on the treadmill. Don't announce you're going to do a marathon on the treadmill unless you build up to it. Stop doing this thing where you go, I'm a white belt. I'm going to roll with a 3rd-degree black belt, for 2 hours every day. Don't do it. You'll get discouraged. You'll quit. You'll get your ass handed to you. In a weird way, you're setting yourself up for failure because you're almost giving yourself an out, Find somebody who's a little better than you. Roll with that person. Don't go at it for 90 minutes. Go at it for 60 minutes. Just sort of approach it that way. There's a diet version of that. There's a career version.
There's a New Year's resolution exercise version of that where he says his best advice for New Year's for New Year's resolution is start slow and slow down, because that's why you don't see anyone in the gyms in March. Well, not this year because they're
my rowing machine. I do a half hour on my rowing machine, but every once in a while my shoulder will be a little sore or I've had a busy day or something. And then I always think to myself, all right, well, no rowing tonight. And then I'll go, no, just go down there and hit the 20-minute button instead of the 30-minute button. And if you give yourself that little out, not that you can do it 3 nights in a row or even 3 times a week, but if there are days when you're just not up to it or your back's a little sore or you didn't get a good night's sleep, just hit the 20-minute button and do that. Life is a marathon, not a sprint. It's one of the things they really don't teach you in high school. Remember how you thought when you were 23 versus what you see now? You realize, and you take a look at the people around you who've made sort of bad decisions. You take a look at the people around you who've made good decisions, and you kind of blink your eyes and 10 years has gone by and they're doing great. Right. Like they're just crushing it. Yes.
It's kind of like the fallacy of cramming for a test. Like I'm going to cram on Chris. Like it's not going to work. Just pace it out over the course of a month. Do a little bit here, do a little bit there. Next thing you know, the thing's done.
Absolutely. All right. Last call, and then we'll do a couple unprepareds. Let's see. Line 2. Hey, Sarah, 31, West LA.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Hi. You're an immigrant from Serbia?
Yes, I must say I like your energy today. It's very positive and it's very encouraging despite the looting and craziness around us. Thank you for that.
Well, thank you for listening and calling in. What's your question?
So I'm not from here, as you already mentioned that. So I have a problem finding a partner in LA, and it's been like very upsetting and frustrating on the fact that I'm very strong and California boys are a little bit, I don't want to sound rude, but a little bit soft, or I'm too judging, but it's just the fact that why is it so hard to find a relationship here? Why everybody's so obsessed becoming a next Kim Kardashian and I don't know, Jonas Brothers, whatever. And it's just very upsetting because I think millennials don't have these values of starting something and committing to that. And most of them, they just escape if, things get a little rocky.
All right. Well, let's talk about this.
In LA,
yeah.
And I just want to know from your perspective, what do you think of that?
Well, Chris, maybe get Sonny and his friends out from under their beds and they could comment on this. Okay. Let's try it. Let's see what let's hear their thoughts. Yeah, I'm worried about it. I do not like the feminization of men. We look at it as an evolution. It is an evolution in many ways, but it's also hurting men. Now there's a whole generation. My son is not allowed to play football at school with his buddies. They've just outlawed football. And they've outlawed football because there's a bunch of chicks and dudes who think like chicks who are in charge of whether they get to participate in the thing they want to participate in the most. And the answer is no. And they have like yoga classes, but they're not allowed to play football. So the chickens shall come home to roost. This has been going on long enough now that if you're looking for a guy who's in his early 30s, he is a product of this douche factory called schools and colleges and the general sort of gestalt of L.A., California, and in general the nation. So it's tough for tough chicks like you from Serbia who want to get it done to deal with a bunch of these young pussies. Like the pickings are going to be slim for gals like you. On the other hand, there's a growing group of guys who are bucking the trends and going into the octagon and starting their own jiu-jitsu fight clubs and after hours. And you might have to end up with one of those meatheads.
You think I should go for jiu-jitsu?
I do. I think if you go to, you go to a color me mine and you're going to get a puss. You go to a dojo, you might get a guy who you want to roll with.
As it pertains to finding the right kind of guy, why not go? I assume, Sarah, you've probably tried online dating or matchmaking or whatever site it is.
I can't do that. I'm European. I can't do that. That is too like I'm talking to a robot. Like I don't know. Maybe that guy's a psychopath. I don't feel. I feel really awkward. I know it's the American way, but
at the very least, Sarah,
sit down and talk. I'm sorry?
Those days are over right now anyway. But at the very least, because it took me a million years to find a partner that I plan on spending the rest of my life with. It took me a million years. Please know that this is not a you thing. As I think you do know, I just want to reiterate that it's not I don't think it's a you being from somewhere else thing. I don't think it's a you being flawed in any way thing. This is LA, and it is nearly impossible. It takes a lot of digging.
When I go on a date, usually guys are talking about a keto diets and they talk about how they're going to get like.
They're going to what?
They're going to tan, like the tan their skin, like a spray. I don't know how you call it.
Oh, to tan.
Yeah.
To tan. I'm sorry, my English is not the best.
It's excellent.
It's amazing.
The thing is that the fact that what I'm finding very more frustrating from the women who are telling me that I have to choose a career or a husband, it's also very humiliating. And also they put me in a position that I have to feel like a victim because I'm not from another country. Well, guess what? I live in America and I think I should have a choice for myself. I don't like to be oppressed for that.
Hey, Sarah, hold on. Maybe we can get you set up. Describe yourself.
There you go.
Yeah, well,
quarantine's over.
We have listeners who are single,
and how
live in the LA area. We can set you up. We'll do a little dating game maybe with you.
I love it.
Describe yourself for our listeners.
I'm 31 years old. I think I'm smart. I think I'm pretty. And I also think that I'm looking for something that is strong and meaningful. I am a student. I'm hardworking. I don't complain. And I just want to enjoy life. I want to go have a partner to enjoy.
Are you told you look like? Are you told you look like anybody? Like people would say, "Well, what does Carolla look like?" Like an old Greg Brady, for instance, or Elliot Gould, if he let himself
made some
go.
Different choices.
Is there someone is someone describe you as?
I'm sorry.
Is there any
celebrity that people think you look like?
Celebrities? Oh, I like Monica Bellucci.
Ooh la la.
Ooh.
I don't know Monica Bellucci. Do we know
Adam, you know Monica Bellucci.
She's like the most prettiest woman in the world.
She's one of the most.
Oh.
You've seen she was in Passion of the Christ. She was in The Matrix.
I hope everyone's sitting down, but I didn't see Passion of the Christ or The Matrix.
She's been in many
okay.
movies.
Well, good. And you now when people say you look like her, how close are you?
Well, let's say 5'4", 5'4". I'm not super skinny. I'm like medium size of the body, right? Mm-hmm. I have brown eyes and I have a pixie hair.
Mm-hmm. And what do you do for work?
I go to school. I'm a student. but I work in restaurants just to support myself to schooling, I guess.
Yeah.
What are you doing in school?
I'm taking right now general education for UCLA, probably. I don't know. I'm not sure yet.
All right. Well, Sarah.
Speaking of two languages fluently,
Probably
so you
law.
obviously are pretty
I'm
smart.
thinking about law,
At least.
more or less.
Sarah, can we put you on hold and get your info, and we'll see maybe if we can, in subsequent days, get a little dating game going with you and rustle you up a partner?
Thank you so much. I really hope I didn't sound like some angry woman.
No.
You didn't sound like me.
Woman knows what she wants.
I don't. I'm trying to think because I feel like a lot of women are attracted to a more feminine guy these days. Like that, this thing that could be considered a negative is considered a positive to certain women. Although I don't know. I wonder if, women are working more. They're more independent. The income part, the protection part, like all the sort of things in the past that you're looking for from a guy, you don't really need anymore. I don't know. Gina, you have any thoughts?
I'm thinking about a lot of things right now, and I'm kind of going through my circle of 10, 12 girlfriends and who they're married to and who they're dating, and it runs the gamut. And I'm kind of just trying to go through an algorithm in my head what any of the standout patterns are. I know I have a very dear friend who is with just this beefy big dude, and she's kind of a ball buster and she's very independent, but at the end of the day she doesn't want to be the dude. She wants a guy that's even more powerful and stronger to sort of protect her. I have friends that are with very intellectual guys that are not that way at all, and I'm just trying to come up with some sort of pattern in my head, but I'm not seeing one.
I wonder if we need less from our partners now because of all the distractions there are out there, and how much you could sort of go into your own world a little bit. Like, her favorite show is Ozark. And my favorite show is Jay Leno's Garage. And okay, you go over there and watch your show, and I'll go over there, and then we'll order some food.
Yeah.
We'll take out one of our earbuds so we can have sort of a conversation. And then, maybe there's more. Maybe there's so much distraction. And also,
I think that's a good point.
Also, we're not counting on one another in that the guy would have to go thatch the roof, like go fix the roof, go fix the car. I need this person to go fix this thing. And then the woman, I need you to go fix me a meal after I'm done fixing the car, whatever it is. Yeah. It's all kind of Grubhub and electric cars that no one ever pops the hood on anymore. Like maybe we're not counting on each, and then you start getting into you porn, and it
you really don't need anybody
right.
else.
So
I think that's an excellent point. It's funny that you said that just about thatching the roof, because I think that in my relationship things are pretty balanced. I mean, I work until 11:30 at night. I come home. There's always dinner ready. But I tried the drain auger snake last night. Not my lane. So he has to go and man up and go deal with that with the shower. And, it's just, you're right. We don't depend on each other as much, but I'm so glad I have someone in my life who is kind of that equalizer. There's always something waiting for me at home, when I get home, at almost midnight, but big guy's got to go deal with the drainage system and the piping. I can't do it.
My new world order is, and hopefully we can evolve enough to get to this point, which is your fiance would be considered a pariah if his hard-working lady came home at 11:30 and he was just watching TV and beating off every night instead of having a meal out ready. I would argue...
He works all day.
That'd be brazen.
I would argue that if you reverse those situations, that if it's the man out working till 11:30, he's not way out of bounds for asking for the same thing that you're getting this way. Sorry.
I'd be so disappointed.
Brian, were you going to chime in?
This there's no research to back this up, but just tell me what you think about this very half-baked theory that I literally just came up with. The young people, not Gina's friends, The young people who are entering the
What's that supposed to mean?
no, the young not a comment on the what you were saying, but the young people who are entering the dating scene these days. These are by and large the children of Gen Xers, and that was a very emo generation. And Adam, from my years listening to Loveline, years on Loveline, you know that women have a tendency to seek out either versions of their dad, or if their dad was an a-hole, like a-holes, like versions of their dad, basically. And if this is a generation raised by emo, that's so broad.
Laid
you know
back.
what I'm saying? A Nirvana generation, especially Pumpkins generation. This is the whole generation defined by this sort of emo ethos. Maybe that has a little bit to do with the move towards the male to the feminine. I don't know.
Well, it's a good theory. I used to say on Loveline 25 years ago that it was essentially, you could say we were an X, and at the bottom of the X 70 years ago in the 50s, at the bottom of the X was men on the right and women on the left. And as we got from the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s, men's hair got longer, women's hair got shorter. More women smoked cigars and started getting tattoos and getting into the UFC. And we started kind of going, and we're getting to the point where we're kind of crossing, or at least meeting in the middle of the X as we go up. Like you could put the dates, 2000, we're in the middle of the X, or not the middle of the X, but the middle of the bottom, right, where we're separated. At some point, we're going to cross, and we're getting to a crossing point, and the crossing point sort of means, well, we're the same. Like you cook, or I'll cook, or you work, or I'll work, or we'll both work, or we'll both cook, or we'll both parent, we'll both everything. And the roles aren't as clearly defined, and
the gender roles are clearly becoming a lot more blurrier as we just go from decade to decade.
And now we're getting into this murky area of, well, we could have two of me, or we could have two of you, or maybe even just one of me and one of you. Like we don't really need us as much anymore because we're more interchangeable, and society doesn't need it. We don't need those two roles as clearly as defined as they were. And I don't know what that means. I think it's going to mean more people just kind of going through life sort of on their own, just kind of doing what they want to do, have their friends, have their phone, have their groups, and all that. All right. So Delroy Lindo is late, right?
Yeah.
He's going to call in, or we're going to theoretically get him in
like 2:30.
All right. So we could do the news.
We could do news, yeah.
All right. Why don't we do that? Let me hit LifeLock, and then we'll do that. Coronavirus sparked an increase in cybercrime complaints to the FBI. They're getting into domain names. They're scamming folks with promised government checks and fake COVID charities. These people are bad. They're there to steal your identity. Look, it's dangerous out there in the streets. No one wants to get bit by a dog or cut by broken glass, so they sit home and they hack in to your life with the computer. You need to protect yourself. It's important to understand how cybercrime and identity theft are affecting our lives. You're home, you're on the computer, you are buying food, you're buying stuff on Amazon, but your information is out there, and you need to protect yourself with LifeLock, right, Dawson?
LifeLock detects a wide range of identity threats, like your social security number on the dark web. If they detect your info has potentially been compromised, they'll send you an alert, and you'll have a dedicated restoration specialist for your case. No one can prevent all identity theft or monitor all transactions at all businesses. LifeLock can see threats you might miss on your own. Join now and save up to 25% off for your first year by using promo code Adam. Call 1-800-LifeLock or head to lifelock.com. Use promo code Adam for 25% off.
All right, take a quick break. We'll come back with the news, Gina and Bald, right after this.
Give me the news with Grad. News with Gina Grad. Breaking viral, all those crazy Trump tweets. Give me news with Gina Grad. Trouble in the Middle East. Celebrity drunk meltdowns. Need news with Gina Grad.
The news with Gina Grad.
So it might still be going as we record right now, but George Floyd's family held the first of several memorial services Thursday afternoon in Minneapolis. His family, friends, and a number of guests gathered at North Central University. That's in Minneapolis. Al Sharpton delivered a eulogy. Jesse Jackson was there, the mayor, Jacob Fry. Saturday, there'll be a public viewing and a private memorial service in North Carolina. That's where he was born. Monday, he'll be flown to Houston for a public and private service. That's kind of where he grew up. And so there'll be a succession of them over the next week.
All right. I don't have anything else to say about it. Everyone knows. We never stop talking about it. It's that. That's it. Here we go. What's next?
Let's see. Oh, this was, we're hearing a lot on, if Antifa and these extreme groups. And the latest one that was in the news is a trio of, according to the New York Post, a trio of right-wing extremists with military backgrounds have been busted for plotting riots at some of the protests in Vegas. This was part of their plan to overthrow the government, according to federal prosecutors. So there's three dudes, a 23-year-old, a 35-year-old, and a 40-year-old. One's in the Army Reserve, one's from the Navy, one's from the Air Force. And they're being held on $1 million bond each on terrorism-related charges.
They're military guys, huh?
They're military, and they're part of a movement called the Boogaloo Movement.
Oh, I've heard about that.
I've never heard of this. It's a term used by extremists to signify the coming civil war and or fall of civilization.
I have their theme song, Maxipata. You have to look up from the early 70s. There was a TV show called The Bugaloos, which I think if they were smart, they would tweak it just a little bit. I think it was an English based. It was out of England, probably Saturday morning, 70s. Yeah, Max.
Yeah, NBC Saturday morning, 70 to 72.
Find that theme and let's see if maybe we could.
It's American.
I'll pitch it at the next Boogaloo.
And it's Sid and Marty Krofft. Oh
yeah, no, these guys are really good at what they do. I'll pitch it at our next Boogaloo meeting. The Bugaloos. Here's the theme. Sorry, this is just done in real time, so take a second. All right, it's got the right tempo.
The Bugaloos, we're in the air and everywhere, flying high, flying loose, flying free as a summer breeze, happy as a summer breeze.
Martha Ray.
That's Benita Bazaar.
The Bugaloos, we're in the air and everywhere.
Yeah, I think that fits.
And I'll bring it up at the next meeting.
And their characters are named Courage and Joy. You can each adopt a nickname.
Yeah, it'd be fun. It's weird. They sound English when they sing, which made me think they were English. Anyway.
And that was the guy who wrote The Love Boat. The
same guy wrote The Love Boat?
Yeah.
That's a national hero.
Charles Fox. Yeah.
Wow. All right. So world's ending. What else we got?
Well, Jake Paul, talk about arrests. He is now, police have confirmed to Fox News that YouTube star Jake Paul, brother of Logan Paul, was charged with criminal trespass and unlawful assembly, which are both misdemeanor charges, after his alleged participation in a mall riot. I think we have some of that footage over the weekend. He denied it. He denied looting and all that kind of, and he issued a statement saying neither I nor anyone in our group was engaged in any looting or vandalism. But then this clip went viral.
Oh my God!
Getting crazy outside of PF Chang.
Oh my God, it's getting crazy.
Oh, don't loot the PF Changs for the love of Christ.
Did not participate in looting
Put
and
those lettuce cups down.
Arizona mall.
That's all I got to
Video
live
of the
for.
YouTube star and his team members at the Scottsdale Fashion Square was posted to Instagram by Andrew Blue, who claims to be Logan's videographer.
Who'd Andrew Blue?
The video shows people breaking windows of the shopping center outside. It also shows what happened inside, including people smashing the windows of a display car and entering a Sephora through the broken glass door.
Hey, yo.
All right.
He says, give me a free cologne.
But aren't we, don't these guys just do outrageous things all day and then film themselves and then put on the internet so we talk about it?
Yes,
done and done.
If if there's footage of him doing something, throwing a brick or taking a something, or that's one thing. But if he's just there, I don't know, man. It feels like malicious prosecution.
Geragos.
There's a problem with the world of, former Bachelorette star does bootleg porn. Like, are we surprised at people that make a living filming themselves doing stupid things and then putting it on the internet or showing up on the internet doing stupid things?
I don't think we're surprised. I think they're surprised when they get in trouble. That's what I think the angle is.
I've seen
because this is their livelihood. This is what they do. So I would imagine it's pretty shocking to actually be held accountable by the police in Arizona.
I wonder if this is going to be the version. As all these chicks are doing this, like, backyard porn. Just with porn with their boyfriend and like throwing it up on the porn sites and everything. And then you go, yeah, but when you're 50 years old, are you really going to be happy that's out there? There's got to be a looting version of this, right? Bunch of 17 and 19-year-olds like looking at the camera and waving and grabbing some basket full of soap or something and running out. That person's going to have to live with that on the internet for the next 100 years too, right?
Yeah, it's not a great look.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you can't rent a car till you're 25.
All right.
So some good news for you NBA lovers. They are set to come back, becoming the first major American sports league to return to action with play scheduled to resume on July 31st.
I had this corny thought, but I started to think about it when I was driving in tonight. Like, maybe these big sporting events keep a lot of people occupied and distracted. I mean, if you think about sports, it's really a massive distraction. People talking before the game about how the game's going to turn out, then after the game, and all the rotisserie leagues and fantasy leagues and everyone's sitting on the internet looking up ESPN.com to figure out how many points their tight end got in his roto league and blah, blah, blah. And you start really I was thinking about, like, one of the sayings that I've really thought was very, very true, which is the devil makes work for idle hands. And you're seeing it now. Locked up, nothing to do, and the devil's making a lot of work for a lot of idle hands out there. Sports, it gives us all something to concern ourselves with, to focus on, a direction to look. Right. And if you take away our sports for a prolonged period of time, those idle hands will find some deviltry. So maybe we need to bring sports back, literally to save America. Like maybe we should be saying, look, maybe it's a little risky to get the NBA up and running sooner than later, baseball, whatever, but like we need it as like a war effort. You know what I mean? Like we're recycling, rubber and beef and steel. Like we're doing, like it's like a war effort. Like NBA, go back and do your part for America. Let's get that first game up on TV and get America back in their houses and watching that sport.
Yeah, well, that's what they're trying to do. So they've been stopped, obviously, because of the pandemic there in March. But the league's board of governors have approved a plan that will see the 22 teams still in playoff contention travel to Disney World in Orlando. It's all going to be done at that complex to play 8 regular season games. So the plan, according to ESPN, includes 13 Western Conference teams, 9 Eastern Conference teams, 8 regular season games, a possible play-in tournament for the 8th seed in playoffs. So I think they want to get this moving as quickly as possible, and you're not going to play hundreds of games.
I don't know what you guys' thoughts are, but every day, every night, I turn on the news. I'm watching Anderson Cooper last night, and they're showing all these great, beautiful, peaceful protests all around Washington and Boston and L.A. and New York, and just wrongs, just hordes of people all sitting against each other peacefully, and Anderson is commenting on how beautiful it is, the black and white and Hispanic and gay and straight all coming together, united under one cause. And I keep looking at it going, are we going to keep having these discussions about, well, we can have an NBA game, but we can't have people in the arena, or if they are in the arena, they have to be on separate ends of the arena? Isn't this going on 24/7 times millions of Americans. And if nothing comes of it, then when we start talking, like I get to do my vintage race at Laguna Seca in the middle of August, and it's like, we're not sure if we're going to let crowds into the infield or if we're just going to have no crowds. And it's like, aren't we doing this experiment right now with just tons and tons and tons of people all sitting on top of each other? I mean, you would never be that close to somebody on the beach or maybe even in a stadium, certainly not at a park. I mean, these people I'm seeing pictures of people just piled in together, back, rows going back as far as the eye can see. I'm confused by if we're not getting a surge, then what are we talking about?
You should ask Drew about this because he'll obviously know more than me. I just see stories and studies and headlines, but I see like they're saying now there's a big difference between the aforementioned the outdoors, your beloved beach, and the protests, or the aforementioned race, versus being indoors at a restaurant with the circulated air and such. So obviously more data is coming out, so to speak. But I think that's going to be, in retrospect, that'll probably be one of the we could have let people outside more.
Yeah, there's also this research coming out of a university in Israel that they're working on manufacturing these disinfectant tunnels for stadiums. So when you walk through it, you're sprayed, and it's completely. They say it's not harmful to the skin. It's not harmful if it gets on your food. Yeah, essentially.
Like
and you walk right through, basically you walk right through a mist, and it doesn't hurt your skin. So those could start popping up in various, concerts, sporting events.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, now I'm angry because I remember when Anderson Cooper was describing how beautiful it was, part of his commentary was, these people are out there putting themselves in harm's way with the COVID virus and a potential killer, but they're still willing to go out there for the right cause. And I thought, wait a minute, weren't you the one who was saying a month ago when people said, hey, it's my decision if I want to go to the fucking pool or not, you were yelling, no, it's not your decision because you're going to come back and you're going to get grandpa sick. So which is it, Anderson? Are these guys heroes for going out and protesting and risking their own life, or are they going to come home and get grandpa sick? You got to stick to one theme. The theme used to be, you can't live your life. You're endangering my life when you live your life. Now that theme's out the fucking window. They're just all heroes who are out living their life and risking potential death for them, but only them. No more theme of coming back and killing people in your apartment building. Okay. Well, there you go. Very consistent.
That clears it up.
Glad to know. I'll be prepared for the next time you give me a lecture about bringing something back and killing you. Ugh. Jesus Christ.
Can I put you in a better mood, please? Vegas.
Yeah.
Opening back up. It opened up Wednesday night at midnight. Gamblers fully out in effect, lined up at various casinos, many gathering on Fremont Street downtown to party before they went inside. Things don't look the same. We know that. The disinfected dice, hand sanitizer, face masks, limited number of players at tables, temperature checks at entrances, touchless cell phone check-ins be the new norm. Some casinos have removed a number of slot machines, so there's 6 feet apart. Some are not obeying, all of these rules, but this is supposed to be the standard as casinos open back up.
Coming full circle to Frank Sinatra lyrics. I was thinking about luck be a lady tonight. And blow on some other guy's dice.
Dice.
No more blowing on dice.
That's right.
Well, I guess you could do it through a mask. If
the luck doesn't really transfer.
If I wanted to
see one of those compressed air.
She gets one of those canisters used to clean your keyboard.
Yeah.
Or the one that the camera guy has in his belt to clean the lens. That guy. I'll just say I'll get my pretty young side piece there to just blow on it, but I'll have her put the mask on first, and then we'll take her word for it.
Smart.
That's sexy.
All right. What else?
So we all know about happy hour at the bars. That might be a thing of the past right now. But as things start to open back up, the Federation of Belgian Cafes, yes, there is a Federation of Belgian Cafes in Belgium, is promoting this new campaign to change happy hour to helpy hour. So the difference is happy hour, obviously, it's usually a 2-for-1 special. Helpy hour is buy one for the price of two. It's a way to get bars back on their feet, restaurants back on their feet amid all these shutdowns. Bars and restaurants in Belgium will be allowed to reopen starting Monday under strict conditions, tables spaced apart, and maximum of 10 people per table.
Let's think about this. I always try to look at yardsticks to kind of measure societies I'd like to live in. Outdoor eating and drinking sort of per capita. When you just take the United States, you take where we live. We live in Los Angeles. You go down to parts of Sun Valley, Van Nuys, Pacoima, Canoga Park, Chatsworth, all shitholes no one would ever want to live in. Not a lot of outdoor dining.
Al fresco.
But you head into Newport Beach or whatever island in there, and all
anything with a marina,
Balboa Island. Like you picture a lot out, and then you picture like Italy and Sweden. Like whenever they'd show Sweden, they're not locked down. By the way, what are our Sweden updates? I don't feel like I'm getting any more Sweden. Like, they're going to be an experiment. Like whenever somebody says to me, hey, how come we don't get any updates on fill in the blank, like Sweden or Florida or something? I go, well, because the news is good. Otherwise, we would get an update. Believe me, if it was a shit show, we would get an update. If you haven't heard anything about it, then it means it's going along fine, or it's not. It's doing comparatively well compared to whatever it is we're doing. But the more outdoor dining, that's the state, that's the city, that's the country. That's where I'd like to eat. But you have to have indoor as an option. Because I've been to some shitholes where it's all outdoors.
I was just about to say.
That's a good rich man, poor man, because sometimes it's just a picnic table.
I think there's a lot of places in the Middle East you wouldn't want to go to that are exclusively outdoor.
There's two things. All right, I've thought about this. You have to have a 2-to-1 ratio for every 10 seats outdoors. You need 20 seats indoors, number one. And then number two, you have to drink martinis and or mixed drinks. No tea. Tea's trouble. I don't trust the tea countries.
No
sweet tea.
No tea.
Wait, Japan's a tea country. You love Japan.
I don't know. Do they eat? But I don't feel do they do a lot of sitting out and eating?
I haven't been there.
And
Gina studied like Japanese culture or something.
Yeah, but not in a city like Tokyo. I mean, it's like a big
2 rules.
Urban city.
No tea. It has to be booze, and you can't be standing up because that's a shit show too. That just means you're outdoors.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
That's fair.
Yeah.
Those are my rules.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
That's good. Expeditioners in Antarctica are now in what's known as the Twilight Zone, the actual Twilight Zone, after the sun set near a research station on Wednesday for the last time for 5 weeks. And I have some video of it that's pretty cool. The Australian Antarctic Program shared a video on Facebook on Wednesday of the sun going down on June 2nd near the research station. So they're not going to see it rise again until July 10th. They say they'll have about 3 hours of what they call civil twilight a day, with the sun between 0 and 6 degrees below the horizon. So it's kind of like, they said it's like being on the dark side of the moon. They said the best thing to combat this is to maintain a routine of working, eating, and sleeping, or you are screwed.
These are, you say Antarctica? Is that what we're talking about?
Antarctica.
Every single movie I've ever seen with any scientist or explorer that's in that neck of the woods, they're always really cool dudes. They got a lot of personality.
The Thing.
And there's been many a movie and many a hero. I can't believe the actual people that decide to do that are nearly as interesting as the people that portray them on the big screen, right? They got to be.
Oh yeah,
that's a crew. That's going to be a tough talk crew, right? Not chatty.
It's funny because a girlfriend of mine who I've known since I was in kindergarten has been to Antarctica many times because she's a marine biologist, and she's super cool, but not Shecky Green.
We should figure out, if not today, then
Shecky
soon.
Green?
Not Shecky Green.
Yeah, you're saying she's quiet and boring. I get it. That's my theory. Why would you go into that business? You go in that business because you hate the sun and you want to be left alone.
You care, and I'm putting words in her mouth, but if I were to be in that position, it would be because I cared more about the earth than people. Like, I want to save the earth. I want to see how the earth works, and I would like to very much go be alone for 3 months.
And nothing ever good comes out of those movies. Like, it's trouble. They always start there, and then there's that fissure in the ice. You know what I mean? Like, what's going on? And you see the crack going in the ice shelf.
Yep.
Sorry, Brian. Go ahead.
I was going to say, we should figure out, if not now, then soon, what professions in real life versus how they're portrayed in movies have the widest gap of coolness versus not coolness or whatever. Like, obviously, everyone thinks of mathematicians, engineers. Well, I'm going to throw out taxi drivers.
Oh, that's good.
There's always a wacky taxi driver in the movie for a full personality, full of charm.
The first one that, of course, comes to my mind, archaeologist.
Yeah.
You think
Right.
there's more than one Indiana Jones?
Yeah, so true.
Professional gambler.
Yeah, because that's just like the Asian guy wearing sunglasses
Yes.
and a ski beanie and super boring looking. Yeah, it's not the guy from Casino Royale. I didn't do Adam Carolla's Unprepared, so we'll do it in the next. We'll do it in the next show, and you can give us a tweet or we'll get phone calls for the next.
We do phone
next
calls.
one
Sure.
we do it. All right, let's do maybe one more. Is Delroy, is he think he's running on time?
Yeah, I heard he was running on time.
Okay.
All right. Well, if you're looking for a long distance partner and you live in Denmark, you're going to have to do some things that I've never heard of before, but I kind of like it. You have to prove that you're in love. You have to provide proof of love. So travel restrictions are being loosened for long distance couples who are married or engaged, have been dating for at least 6 months. And if you can present evidence upon your arrival into the country that you really are a couple in love, they will let you in.
See, Adam, you do wonder why these young kids put their pornos on the internet. This is like you're the Dutch, you're at Dutch customs. Like, no, just Google.
They can bring in a love letter, some a steamy pic.
This is the movie Green Card with Gerard Depardieu.
The guy, the police chief said, "I realize these are very intimate things, but the decision to let in the partner ultimately rests on the judgment of the individual police officer. And an online-only relationship isn't enough. You have to prove that you've had in-person relations, essentially, prior to the pandemic."
What am I saying?
Yeah, so I mean, the guy's like looking at your phone, going, second base isn't really going to cut it. I need to see some digits dropped, or I need more areola.
Doesn't look official.
Yeah, that's kind of opening things up. It's kind of interesting. Kind of reminds me of that we're talking about the Supreme Court ruling or the senator from whatever, which is like, how do you define pornography? And they just go, I'll know it when I see it. And I guess you're leaving it up to a lot of guys to go like, I'll know it. I'll know it if I see it. All right. Let's bring it home because Delroy Lindo is going to pop on with us any second
Very
now.
good. I'm Gina Grad, and that's the news.
Gina Grad.
That was the news with Gina Grad.
Let me hit Geico, and then we'll jump on Delroy's train. Geico, I want to thank you for sharing your DIY haircuts and some of your fails, your inner lip sync stars on video and whatnot. And also, they're going to share with you at geico.com. They're going to give back 15% credit on car and motorcycle policies for current and new customers because Geico's committed to long haul. The 15% credit lasts the full length of the policy. So you're not driving as much and Geico gets it. They're going to kick it back. Geico.com/giveback for info and eligibility. Delroy Lindo, great actor, is going to be up right after this. Delroy Lindo has joined us, the great actor. Good to see you, my friend. Where are you?
Thank you. I'm in Northern California. I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area.
All right.
That's usually
where are you?
What's that?
Where are you?
Glendale.
Where are you?
Glendale, California.
Only slightly less glamorous Glendale, California.
I understand.
The film, Da 5 Bloods, which is available June 12th on Netflix, has Delroy in it and also Chadwick Boseman as well, and a lot of other very good actors. Spike Lee joint. Let's talk about the film.
The film is about 4 Vietnam vets who returned to Vietnam in order to recover the remains of a comrade that they lost in 1971, as well as to retrieve some bullion, some gold bullion that they had been told to transport, and then the bullion gets lost. And so the purpose of these 4 men returning to Vietnam is to recover the remains, and if they get lucky, to recover this bullion.
How long?
Put it a good use, a good socially responsible use.
How long has it been since you've worked with Spike Lee?
Do you have a calculator there?
Is it like 26 years or something?
Yeah, we last worked together on Clockers, a film called Clockers, which I believe was released in either 1995 or 1996. So that was the last time. So, 24 years.
I was off by 2, sorry. Your parents were from Jamaica, I'm looking at here, and they immigrated to Britain, and then you found your way to the Bay Area. Is that the journey?
I found, there were some steps. That was the short version. I found my way to the Bay Area to study acting at a place called the American Conservatory Theater. You're correct. My mom, we are Jamaican. My mom was part of an influx of Caribbean people from the Caribbean to the United Kingdom that started in 1948. My mom arrived, I think, around 1951, which is how I came to be born in England. And my mom was part of this influx of hundreds of thousands of people from the Caribbean, emigrating from the Caribbean to the UK, and they became known as the Windrush generation. And they were called the Windrush generation because the boat that brought the first batch of Jamaican men to the UK in 1948, June 22nd, 1948, was called the Empire Windrush. So that's how I came to be born in England. My mom then left and went to Canada. I followed her, and eventually, as you say, I ended up in San Francisco in order to study at the American Conservatory Theater.
Well, now that we got all that out of the way, we can talk about Gone in 60 Seconds for the next 45 minutes. Because
not gonna happen, bro. Gonna happen.
Well, Bryan and I were talking. Well, here's a legitimate question. I think you'll find this legitimate. That movie's a guilty pleasure of mine, but I thought you were very strong in it. Like, your performance was very good. And is it more challenging to deliver? I think sometimes we undervalue the ability of guys to take kind of lighter weight material and make it better.
Supporting parts. Yeah. Okay. Without sounding, it's hard to talk about acting without sounding, but if I take your point, because that was, a supporting role. But if you're applying yourself to the work and trying to get the truth out of every scene, then it resonates in whatever way it resonates, right? I can tell you, for instance, the first film that I ever did with Spike is a film called Malcolm X. That film is over 3 hours long. My character, West Indian Archie, is probably in that film for maybe, 12 minutes, 3 hour film. But it resonated for actors. And that was because of the way it was written. There are these scenes that I have early on, or maybe midway through the film. But then there was a scene at the end of the film that completed West Indian Arch's dramatic journey, his narrative. And that kind of sewed everything together. So even though the film was only 3 hours long, even though the film was over 3 hours long, but I am only in the film for a relatively short amount of time, it resonated because there was a journey that my character took. As far as Gone in 60 Seconds is concerned, I would say that, I had a number of scenes with Nick Cage, who was, the lead actor in the film, so that at very strategic points in the unfolding of the narrative, Nick is there and I am there. And the way that the story was set up is that Nick's character was my nemesis. So every scene that he and I are in together, we're kind of going at it. And I have no idea, but maybe that's the reason why you're saying, well, you were good in the film, because it resonated in a certain kind of way, just because even though it was a supporting part, I was there at very strategic points in the unfolding of that narrative.
In Malcolm X, your character did the Jamaican accent, and I'm guessing that was easier for you because of your mom or because of your childhood experiences. Is that why you were able to do it?
I am of Jamaican extraction. Therefore, while it's not a given that I could reproduce that accent, I was around Jamaicans, and my mom spoke with a softer Jamaican accent. But because I'm of Jamaican extraction, it was I could capture that accent.
I want to pull these two threads together because when we talk about Jamaican accent or that accent, and you're talking about bang for your buck, the limited screen time versus impact. I was ashamed that I forgot that. Remember the movie Adam, The Devil's Advocate, one of our favorites. Delroy was the character who was sacrificing the goats in New York, and they had to it was a Keanu Reeves first assignment, right, for his new law firm, and you were on the screen for 5 minutes maybe, but I'll never forget. That's a great part.
Well, again, perhaps it's echoing what I said before. Keanu Reeves was one of the lead actors in the film, and I'm in a scene with Keanu, and I'm cutting up these animals, which is kind of sort of memorable in and of itself. So therefore, perhaps it becomes then a memorable scene that resonates with audiences. And then there was a later scene in which we're in court,
right?
And the judge has a coughing jag. He goes on this coughing fit, which prevents him to saying what he needs to say in terms of adjudicating the case. And the way that Taylor Hackford directed the film, and the way that he shot the scene was that as this judge is kind of doubled over into hacking and coughing, he keeps panning back to me. The
implication being that you're the one obviously doing it.
Yes, and I'm just sitting there doing nothing. So I don't know. Maybe it is a corroboration of the fact it doesn't matter how long you're in a given piece of work or in a film. It matters what the content of the scenes are and how memorable they become in relationship to the whole, to the narrative overall.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's sort of your batting average, not the amount of trips to the plate, but how often I used to do Howard Stern all the time, and people always liked me on Howard Stern, and they would say, how do you do so well on Howard Stern? And I would say, I don't talk unless I have a good joke or something funny to say. So I would just be quiet for 10 minutes, and then I would say something funny, and then I'd be quiet again. And at the end, they don't really care how much you spoke. They just want to know the average of the jokes that you told.
Or the content of the joke, right?
Right.
Was the joke was it funny? Did it make people laugh? Did it resonate for the audience? Did the audience respond? And if they got a good laugh out of whatever it was that you said, then chances are it became a memorable moment in the program.
I see a drum kit behind you, in your, what I hope
My
is,
son.
oh, that's your son.
My son, yeah. My son, I was going to say was a musician. My son's a ball player now. My son plays basketball. And so the drums don't get played as much. But from the time my son was very, very young, he exhibited this aptitude for the drums. So I got him his first drum set when he was probably, I don't know, 2 or 3. This is probably the last drum set we got for him.
You're 6'4", right?
No, my son is 6'4". I'm 6'2". And my son loves the fact that he is taller than dad. Couldn't wait, God dog it. No, I'm 6'2". I'm 6'2".
Oh, it's funny. I thought I was reading up on you, and I for some reason thought I read 6'4", but I always thought of you as tall. Is your son playing ball? Is he? How old is he?
Yeah, he actually. My son is soon to be 19 years old, and he just got a scholarship. Full ride, actually.
He's at St. Mary's.
He was at St. Mary's. How did you know St. Mary's?
I Googled him, and his Twitter bio popped up, said shooting guard at St. Mary's College.
No, St. Mary's.
St. Mary's College High School. That's what I get for not reading the whole thing. I apologize.
That's why the Google, man.
I know, man. I gotta be more thorough on that.
But listen, I want to ask the lady to ask a question. The dude, you're hogging the conversation.
My God, a man after my own heart.
Pipe down, bro.
Okay, bye. First of all, when you were talking about your Jamaican background, it just made me remember that in college we were doing I've come from a theater background, and we were doing dialect classes, and we could choose anything we wanted. And I'm from Kansas, and I know nothing about nothing, especially at that time. And I chose patois because it seemed like the most
Jamaican patois.
Yeah. Jamaican patois. Because it seemed incredibly it was incredibly foreign to me. And I met this incredible woman from Jamaica, and I asked her to help me break everything down. And
she's from Kansas.
I'm from Kansas.
Okay.
And it just was the most exciting dialect work I had done. But the way you break things down just in these conversations, and forgive me for not knowing in advance, but I would be very surprised if you weren't teaching acting.
I've taught acting, and I really enjoy teaching acting. Well, when I say that I've taught acting, I've run workshops. I got a degree from NYU a number of years ago, and I taught some workshops at NYU. I went a few years ago to the University of Michigan and did a day of workshops there. But I have not taught on an ongoing basis, and I would rather not teach.
Why is that?
2 answers, 2 responses. I think I'm stronger going in for a short amount of time, sharing what I know, and then leaving it to the students to disseminate whatever it is I've said, and to make sense of it or not. I have the feeling that were I to have to deal with students on an ongoing basis, I'm not sure. I don't know, but I'm not sure I would have the patience for that.
Fair enough.
For instance, when I did my workshop at the University of Michigan, I was helping the kids with some scene work. They all got up and they either did a monologue or a scene, and I gave feedback. And this one kid got up, young man got up, and he did a monologue, and I gave him some feedback. And he said, I'm not quoting, he said words to the effect, "Wow, what you just said really makes sense to me." One of the things I had said to him had to do with how to create a biography for the character that you're playing. In other words, how to create, you said you're from a theater background, so you know the importance of that.
Of course.
Right. You say, of course. This kid said to me, I said, so as you're creating a given character, it can sometimes be really helpful if you create a biography for that character. And then I said some very specific things about the monologue I had seen him do. And he said to me, that makes really good sense. I never saw the need to do to create a biography in the past. He was a senior.
Oh my!
He was about to graduate.
I never saw the need to know who I was as this character.
That's right. He was a senior. Now, right. So if I had to deal with that kind of thing on an ongoing basis, it would probably drive me nuts.
Well said.
Gina, can I ask a question?
Wait a second.
Adam.
Wait. I'm not through talking to Gina. Okay? So Gina, I'll give you one other. I was directing a play, and I love directing also. And I was directing a wonderful play, and the actors were doing extraordinary, wonderful work. One of the actors that I had hired, I hired this actor, and she was kind of sort of having a hard time with the material. One day she had a breakthrough, and I said, "That's it right there. Whatever you were working on in that moment, it really worked." And she said to me, "Yeah, but I don't know how to recreate that." And this was somebody who had just graduated Juilliard, the drama school, 4 years at Juilliard. And when she said, "Yeah, but I don't know, how do I recreate that?" And it was, not only was it very disturbing to me, but it landed on me someplace where I understood it, and I helped her, and we worked, and she was wonderful in the production. But when she said that, it was just very, very dispiriting to me. And I'm not sure how I would react and respond on an ongoing basis if I had to deal with those kinds of comments and being dispirited on a daily basis. I just don't know that I would be good at that.
You're better off at being the special guest and then getting out.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Can you teach people to act? I mean, I'll make an analogy. Everyone can kind of play.
Adam's asking for a friend.
No, I mean, everyone can kind of play sports, but you're not going to be able to play it at a high level. You have to be athletic to really play it at a high level.
Time. Everybody can't play sports.
Well, they can participate.
Wait, I'm going to tell you. Okay, so I'll give you a story, and then I'm going to promise I'll let you finish your question. My son used to play soccer when he was very young. I had him playing soccer, which actually has helped his basketball because his footwork is great and he has vision. He sees the court. Anyhow, my son was probably, I don't know, 8 or 9 playing soccer. And my son is a good athlete. So he was pretty good. Maybe he was 10. There was a little kid on his team that clearly did not want to be there, and his father had kind of forced him to be there. I remember he got on the field, and literally during the game, and the ball is downfield, and this kid was back closer in the defensive end of the field, and he knelt down and started picking blades of grass in the middle of the game. And his father, who I was standing next to, had steam coming out of his ears. And the kid was picking blades of grass. And the kid doesn't want to be here. He's not an athlete, man. Give it up. So that's my story. Go ahead.
Well,
as you're saying,
of course, yeah, not everyone is good at sports. But what I mean is anyone can go to a park and get into a pickup basketball game and be bad, but they can participate. Anyone can do a school play. But certain people are gifted and they're athletes, and we all understand foot speed, vertical leap, upper body strength, all that. Is it kind of analogous with acting? Like, if you're not an athlete, do you need to be able to, I mean, we all know people, you couldn't teach them to act. It would be a waste of time, right?
Maybe not a waste of time from the standpoint that if you are pursuing this and if you have it in your heart to pursue this, I am not going to tell you not to pursue it. What I hope, if you are exhibiting an eminent lack of talent, if you are eminently just talentless, what I hope for you is that you will realize that at some point. I went to acting school. I mentioned I went to the American Conservatory Theater. There were young people, young men there, and there were 2 in particular I'm thinking of, who were in class, that I was in class with, and they just didn't have it. They didn't have it. They just didn't have it. And it was clear that they didn't have it. So the answer to your, and they were in an acting conservatory. So my response to your question is, fundamentally, I don't think acting can be taught. Here's the question. Yeah, I think you have to have, here's the response. You have to have something to work with.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You got to have something to work with. You have to have some area that can be built upon and developed. If you just don't have it, you just don't have it.
I agree. And again, it's like high level athletics. Like you can teach and you can coach, but if you just don't have that kind of coordination, that foot speed, you're not going to make it out on the field. But then what is it? What is acting? Like, is it an intellectual process? Would you say that?
It's not intellectual.
What is it? So is it like saying, I have a musical ear. It doesn't make me smarter. It doesn't make me a greater intellect. I just have the ability to hear someone play something on the piano and mimic it or write my own. Is it analogous to that?
Yeah. But that's a gift. If you have a musical ear and you are able to hear somebody play something on the piano and then, as you say, mimic it or play it, that's a gift. That's a talent. I would say to you that if you have a musical ear, that means you have a certain relationship to music, as opposed to somebody who has what we call a tin ear, who can't hear it, who can't appreciate it. So with regard to acting, okay, this is what I'll say to you. If a young person comes to me and says, Mr. Lindo, I want to be an actor, invariably, my response, I have a couple of responses. Why do you want to be an actor? Why? Why do you want to act? And depending on their response will determine for me what my next response to them is. Frequently, not infrequently, I find myself saying to young people, okay, if you want to act, God bless you. But I will say this to you. If there is anything that you can do, if there's anything else that you can do other than act and be happy doing that, go do that. Because acting is too hard, it's too difficult, and the industry, which is eminently not a meritocracy. It is not a meritocracy. The industry is just too hard. And from a business point of view, from a career point of view, there are way too many obstacles that get thrown in your face. You have to be able to take rejection as a fundamental part of your personality. You have to, because you're going to hear no far more than you hear the word yes. So if you are built to withstand all of that and can still pursue the career and the craft, go do it. God bless you. If you're not built like that, with all due respect, I would suggest that you go and find something else.
Wait, are you talking to me, or is this still the hypothetical? I felt like that was aimed. Felt like it was heading for me.
It resonated.
You know who Bob Marley is, man?
Sure.
You're a musical person. Okay, he has a song called
Hold on, let me be the whitest guy in the world. Robert who?
Yeah, Bob Marley. He had a song called If the Cap Fits. So, hey, it's on you.
You said meritocracy and not a meritocracy. Can we explore that a little bit?
Well, it's not about who's talented. Simple as that. Success, excuse me, being talented does not guarantee success as an actor. There are all these other components that contribute to one's success, longevity as an actor. Talent is one component. There are all these other components that directly contribute to who achieves success as an actor. And the other piece is who is able to maintain a longevity in their careers.
Brian, you got a question? Sorry.
I sort of did, but I'm going to put you on the spot, Mr. Lindo, if you don't mind. I'm wondering if there's any. I've always wondered this, especially from an actor's point of view, someone who's been in the industry for a long time. Are there any people who we dismiss as movie stars who you're like, oh no, that's a really good actor or actress?
Right.
I'll give you a second to think about it, because I always thought of Tom Cruise. He's Tom Cruise, right? He's a big star. He's international, blah, blah, blah. He's a really good actor, and he's gotten better. He's turned in some amazing performances like later in his career.
Did you see a film called Magnolia?
I own
exactly
Magnolia.
What I was thinking. Yep.
Terrific in Magnolia.
He was robbed of an Oscar for that movie.
I won't go that far. I don't know who else was. No. I'm not being facetious. I don't know who else was nominated that year or who was in his category, but he was very good. I think of Will Smith. Will Smith in 6 Degrees of Separation. He was terrific. One of the first films he did. He was terrific in that. Believable. He has since become a movie star, but he was terrific, I thought, in 6 Degrees. And there was a film he did a few years ago. I want to say it was called 8 Seconds.
No, it was 7 Pounds.
Yeah.
7 Pounds.
8 Seconds was a rodeo movie.
That was Luke Perry.
Luke Perry.
Oh, no. So 7 Pounds. He was very good in that. Movie star. He's become a movie star. And there's also a film that he did called Not a Beautiful Mind. That was Russell.
Pursuit of Happiness?
The Pursuit of Happiness.
Yeah, he was great.
Very good in that. And in those films, and there may be other films, the films of Will Smith that I have seen, he did really good work as an actor in those films. He's also a movie star. So I'll tell you somebody else who became a movie star. She won an Academy Award for.
I can buy you a second and tell you that Tom Cruise lost to Michael Caine for Cider House Rules, which Delroy was in, in 2000.
So listen. So wait a minute. Is that the best supporting category?
Yes.
So there was somebody else who should have been nominated that year. Do you know who it is?
In 2000 in supporting?
Delroy Lindo for Cider House Rules.
That's right. There you go. That's right.
I didn't say it, you said it. So moving right along. Who won the Academy Award Best Actor, Best Actress for a film with Billy Bob Thornton? She was in Spike's film.
Halle Berry?
Halle Berry.
Well done. Yes,
Halle
for
Berry.
Monster.
Halle Berry is
Monster.
a fine actor.
Yeah.
She became a big movie star, but a really good actor. But to your original question, are there people that I dismiss?
No.
No. Because
it was people who are dismissed generally, who I was wondering who you really respect as actors. And you answered my question, so that's perfect. Thank you.
I've answered the question, right?
Yes, perfect.
Yes. Let's hear from the young lady.
Gina, your turn.
I love this man. Well, the first when Bryan said that, the first name that comes to mind, although now we see him, as a legitimate movie star. Think about the old 21 Jump Street days. People didn't give Johnny Depp a second look.
Right.
And he's really proved himself as an incredible actor.
Fine actor, yeah, for sure. He's a very good actor. Absolutely. I have to ask you guys the team a question. How much longer do we have in this? Because I really need to talk a little bit about the Five Bloods.
Oh yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. Let's go right into that. Why don't we?
Take it away.
Why don't we go right into that?
So that film is important. This film is important for a number of reasons. Because it is a film that, presents the Vietnam experience through the lens of these 5 African American vets. And due to the fact, and you guys may disagree, and if you disagree, I'd like to hear why. But usually in films of conflict, the contributions of Black soldiers are either marginalized or expurgated altogether. And the reason that this film is important is because it flips that whole thing. And now we are seeing a film that not only presents the Vietnam experience through the lens of the experience of these 5 African-American men, but we also see we get exposed to their humanity and their love. In my estimation, it is a love story between these 5 men.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm hoping is that if audiences can see that, acknowledge that, feel that, you will get a window into Black maleness that ordinarily does not get portrayed on screen.
I know the timing is horrible for this, but I totally disagree. It's a joke.
You're being facetious.
Yes.
Okay, you don't do comedy, right?
Well, it's interesting because I never thought about, especially as it pertains to Vietnam films, that the ones that pop to mind, the big Apocalypse Now, Platoon, Full Metal Jacket, on and on and on. There's the black guy. Oh, go ahead, please.
Stop. Good. Those three films. You said I never thought about it. The films that spring to mind are Platoon, Full Metal Jacket, and
Apocalypse Now.
That proves my point. Even though I don't quite put Full Metal Jacket in the same, I don't put them in the same category just because Dorian Harewood was in that film.
Mm-hmm.
But they kill him. They kill him off. I don't less than halfway through the film. But Platoon and Apocalypse, there are a couple black soldiers in Platoon. Johnny Depp is in that film. He's got a big part in that film.
Lawrence Fishburne, isn't Lawrence Fishburne the young black guy in Apocalypse Now?
Lawrence
Fishburne?
He was like 15 when he was in that, wasn't he?
Apocalypse.
Yeah, Apocalypse Now. Yeah.
That's true. But when you think about, you said it. You said, I never really thought about it, because either in war films, our presence is not central.
Mm-hmm.
Not fundamental to how the narratives are told.
Mm-hmm.
And in this, we are front and center. And not only are we front and center, and this is not an ego thing from my point of view, it is, from my standpoint, it is from a human point of view. What I am hoping is that not only does it serve as a historical corrective in terms of representing more fully what our contribution was to the Vietnam War, but also the fact that we are presented as human beings with all of our foibles, all of our faults. But that goes to the center of our humanity. So I want to say that. I need to say that. And we can talk about Gone in 60 Seconds now if you want to.
Please.
For 60 seconds.
No, I was reading that your character's a Trump supporter in the film, and that you were arguing with Spike that that's what I read, that you didn't want to be that.
Arguing. I was not arguing with Spike, but I did try to dissuade Spike from making me a Trump supporter, because that individual is antithetical to everything that I stand for and believe in. And so the fact that I would be portraying a supporter was not something I wanted to embrace. I also said to Spike, man, I have at that time, a 17-year-old son. He's now 18, 17-year-old son. I don't want him to see me doing this. Spike thought about it. So what I said to Spike was, can we make my character, Paul, a conservative, an arch conservative? I don't mind being an arch conservative without being a Trump supporter. Spike thought about it. He called me up maybe 3-4 days later and said, no, man, I really need for Paul, my character, Paul, to be a Trump supporter. I said to Spike, okay, you know what? Give me, he said to me, if you don't want to play this part, you can play, and he offered me another part. There was another part. He said, you can play this part. I said, okay, I tell you what, give me the weekend. I'm going to read the script again, and I'll call you next week. He said, cool, no problem. I took another 2 or 3 days, and I read the script 2 more times. So now I'd read the script 3 times. And what became clear to me was that Paul was the part I needed to play. Paul was the part I was going to play. Paul is an extraordinary. You guys have not seen the film, but I hope you go see the film. But Paul is a large Shakespearean, Wilsonian, tragic character. And in the additional second and third time that I read the script, I was able to rationalize in my head how my character could have arrived at a place in his life where he voted the way he did in 2016. So once I was over that stumbling block, I was fine. And I wanted to take on all the various other aspects of this character, which are phenomenal. So it was not an argument with Spike, but I did say, Spike, I'd rather not, man.
Yeah, I shouldn't have said argument, but there was a discussion about it. By the way, we don't have to go see the film. It'll be out June 12th on Netflix, so we can all enjoy it from where we are. I was laughing in my head thinking about your son and how you'd have to sort of pitch him or discuss with him being a Trump supporter. And
no, I don't, because he knows I'm not.
I mean, the character being a Trump supporter. Which is, I'm picturing him going, Dad, can't you go back and play one of those roles where you sacrifice animals? Why do you have to be a Trump supporter?
I tell you what. A few weeks ago, Spike arranged a special screening for the cast of the film. We all watched, obviously, remotely from our homes. And my son, the whole family watched it. And that didn't come, two things. It didn't come up. My son accepted, quote unquote, this person he was seeing on screen, which he clearly knew was not me. But the one thing that he said was, at one point he leaned into the screen and he said, Dad, what's up with your teeth, man? And that was cute. That was funny to me because I had a false set of teeth made for myself, upper and lower. And it's a small thing. It was entirely from my own process as I was creating this film. And I'll tell you where it came from. There's a book called Bloods, edited by a man named Wallace Terry. And I'd read Bloods in the 70s. And in preparation to doing this film, I went back and reread the book. And the book Bloods are verbatim accounts of Black Vietnam vets. And there are photographs of the vets who are in the book. And in one of the photographs, one of the vets is smiling. And I was looking at his teeth. And I just had this idea that I wanted Paul's teeth in the film not to be as perfect as my teeth are. And so I called my dentist and I had my dentist make a cast of my teeth. And one of the gentlemen on the film made this set of crooked teeth for me, upper and lower. It's something probably most audiences will miss. It wasn't for show, right? It wasn't for me to say to the audience, look at my teeth and see how crooked they are. It was just a character trait that I wanted to incorporate. But my son caught it.
Well, I'm thinking back on that conversation you had with that acting student where you were telling them to create this world for the character, and they were going, I don't know what you're talking about, Pops. I hadn't given that much thought, but the fact that you read the script 3 times, you reread the book Bloods, that kind of detail, that's why you are who you are. Gina, I'm going to let Gina ask the last question since that seems to be the theme of the day.
Before I get to Gina, I want to say that in addition to that, I spoke with a number of vets. I read a number of books in addition to Bloods. 2 of the first vets that I spoke with are my cousins, both of whom were in Nam, and both of whom have suffered with PTSD. One of the central things in the film is that I'm suffering from severe PTSD. So I spoke with my cousins. I then spoke with a number of additional vets and read a number of books, looked at documentaries. So what I was doing was inundating myself with this Vietnam information and by way of creating a foundation for myself as I started this work. Gina, your question.
Well, wait. Now, sorry, I've got one more. The man has one more question.
Man, don't come on, give the
Good night.
space, man. Come on now.
How close did you come to Vietnam? I mean, you're
No. I'm young. I was too young. One, I was only 16 in 1968. That's one. And two, I was in Europe. So I was a number of steps.
Because it was still going on in 70 when you were 18.
No, for sure. But no, I did not go to Nam. And frankly, I was educated, phenomenally educated, much more about Vietnam, about the Vietnamese, about the whole Vietnam experience as a result of the research that I undertook in preparation for this film. Gina, what's your question?
I have a couple questions rolling through my brain, but just from what you told us about the character of Paul and a little bit of the soul searching that you had to do with it, in general, because it seems like there was for lack of a better word, a breakthrough with you embracing that character in that role. In general, do you feel that you have a personal responsibility when it comes to who you're cast as and who you're willing to play? And if so, has that changed with this character?
I do have a responsibility. I have a responsibility. It has not changed with this character because my job as an actor in any part that I play is to find the humanity and to empathize and to understand why this person is the way that he is. Going back to the cider house rules, which I assume you guys have not seen.
Oh, we've seen it.
Raise your hand. Okay, so you've seen the film, and you know what my character does in that film, and that was a film that I did not. That was a part that I did not want to play, and I actually turned it down. I said, no, I don't want to do this. No, I don't. I'm not doing this. No. And the director changed. It was a new director. We met, and we had a wonderful lunch, which he paid for, which was wonderful. That always helps. And he said, "I'm sorry. The part is the part. It is what it is." And I said, "God bless you. Thank you for lunch, but no. I'm not your guy." He then came back to me again to play the part. I then, Gina, to your question, went through a process where I could rationalize for myself how Mr. Rose comes to have an incestuous relationship with his daughter. And once I was able to, I'm not going to say I could empathize. I'm not going to say that, but I created a process, a biography, a history for myself.
Yeah. A roadmap.
A roadmap, thank you, where I could see how that act could happen. And essentially, I'll tell you what it was. I won't give you the details, but essentially, it had to do with the depth of the love that I have for my daughter, depth of the love and protection for her that I have for my daughter, Rose, played wonderfully by Erykah Badu. The depth and breadth of the love that I have for her is such that at a certain point, it slips over into this other thing.
Well said.
Did I answer your question? You said you had two questions.
Well, my other question, just because I love finding out the answer to this, and I think everybody does. What kind of role, stage or screen, or if you have something specific, have you not conquered yet that you're really hoping to do during the span of your career?
I've always wanted to play the part of Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey was a Jamaican man who in the teens, in the 19 teens, came to New York from Jamaica and formed an organization called the UNIA, the United Negro Improvement Association. And his ethos had to do with taking Black people, African descended people, back to Africa, because that's where he felt the homeland was. He was hugely powerful. The UNIA had members all over the world. It was thousands and thousands and thousands of members strong in New York alone, but he had members all over the world. And he became too powerful, and they meaning his enemies, destroyed him. They finally got him on some kind of income tax something. And he ended up dying in England, and I think was buried in a pauper's grave at the end. But my answer to your question is, I've always wanted to play Marcus Garvey. I may be too old right now, but it's an extraordinary story. That's the answer to your question.
Wonderful.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Go
Delroy. No, I just appreciate you coming on. And again, The Five Bloods, available June 12th on Netflix. Watch it. And I hope we can do this again soon, maybe even in person.
God bless you. Thank you so much. You guys take care. All the very, very best to you.
Thank you. All right. So
is the person from Netflix with us?
Oh,
no, she's not here.
Okay, I'm going to leave. All right, you guys. God bless.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right. I'm going to be doing live shows coming up Nashville, Tennessee at Zany's, June 12th and 13th. So we'll do live podcasts and live stand-up shows there as well. I'm your emotional support animal, available for pre-order because it's shipping real soon now, middle of June. And we'll do Adam Carolla's Unprepared from Quarantine, Monday, June 15th, 7 p.m. Pacific time. You register at SiriusXM.com/Adam Carolla. Well, that was an interesting conversation.
I'll say.
Nice
Contender
job.
for Guest of the Year.
Yeah, nice job, Gina and Bald, for that very, very good assist there.
Thanks. He's very easy to speak to.
Yeah, but he has a
Lots
kind of
to
a
say.
relaxed intensity to him. I don't know if that,
Yeah.
that works, but it works for me. All right, and live shows ever. Go to AdamCarolla.com. Until next time, it's Adam Carolla for Delroy Lindo and Mark Geragos and Gina and Bald Bryan saying mahalo.